I call the Honourable Dr Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, I must say it is great to be back here in the House at the start of 2011, which is, of course, election year. And listening to this debate today, I think the public is going to get a very clear idea about the battle lines for the coming battle. And look, Mr Speaker, no matter how often the Labor opposition repeat the myths and the half-truths and make the misrepresentations, the fact is the public know what's really going on. And if you really want to know the difference between the two sides, just have a look at the two leaders' State of the Nation speeches which they gave 2 weeks ago just before the start of the parliamentary year. And if you're listening at home or watching, go to stuff.co.nz, download the Prime Minister's speech, and you will see a very clear analysis of the economy, of what needs to be done in New Zealand, what the answers are, and most importantly, what the policies are which are going to support a return to economic growth. Meanwhile, on the other side of the House, you've got Phil Goff, whose big election year promise is that he is going to make the first $5,000 tax-free. Everyone's going to get $10 in the hand, and somehow that's going to turn the economy around. And the member, Mr Nash there, he was talking about this election being about trust. Well, he is right. It will be about trust. And it's just a shame for Mr Goff, on the day when he came out with such a bogus load of rubbish masquerading as policy, that he also couldn't answer a straight question about whether he dyed his hair or not. It's a trivial matter. It's an absolute trivial matter. No problem with dyeing your hair. But why can't Mr Goff just be upfront about where he is with that particular thing? Because I tell you, it's the small things that undermine the public's trust, and that certainly is one. Now, these guys over here, they've spent this 15-hour debate talking down New Zealand. Mr Cunliffe there recently returned from his holiday in his Herne Bay mansion. He'll be back now ministering and talking down to the people of New Lynn for yet another year. He lost the party vote there last time. I'm sure if he goes a bit further, he may well lose the seat there this time around. But Mr Cunliffe was talking down New Zealand in the most derogatory terms. And he, once again, he believes that removing GST from fruit and vegetables, that's going to cure obesity. He believes that by announcing all these uncosted promises, he's somehow going to get the economy going. But these guys, they do not have any plan. But I can tell you, Mr Speaker, there is a God in heaven, and I know there is, because after Phil Goff's time, he is going to deliver us David Cunliffe as the leader of the opposition, and that is a day that I know the Labor MPs, they will not be looking forward to. But on this side of the House, I tell you, things are just going to get better and better. But there is a clear choice this year laid out for the public of New Zealand, and you've got two alternatives. You've got John Key, a man with a sound professional record who can manage the economy. He's shown the efforts that we are putting into the clear policies to turn this economy around. Or you can vote for Labor, New Zealand First and the Green Party. And if you get that lot, I can tell you what you'll get. You'll get soaring tax rates. You'll get a top tax rate of 50%. You'll get Winston Peters as Deputy Prime Minister and probably Minister of Finance. You will get a completely unaffordable, punishing ETS. And you know what else you'll get? You will get a capital gains tax. So these guys, they're going around the country moaning and complaining to their base. They are out there talking to the 25% of people who always vote Labor and who will always agree with them that they are going to make progress. So you know how politics works. There's 30% of the guys that vote for them, always 25%, 30%. There's always 30% that vote for centre-right. Then there's probably 10% who vote for a variety of small parties. And then there's the 30% in the middle who vote for the party that delivers on their aspirations. And John Key has been out there now since the end of 2006 painting an aspirational picture for New Zealand. And I can tell you, the people I represent on the North Shore of Auckland, the people in Northcote, the people in Glenfield, Beach Haven and Birkdale, they agree with John Key's message because they want a better future for themselves, they want a better future for their children, and they are backing the people with the vision for New Zealand. So these guys can talk down the country as much as they like, but at the end of the day, the public do not vote for negativity. And if you want to know really what the formula is for success and the future, you just have to see what's happening around the world. And I was listening to a commentator the other day on the radio, and she was saying, you know, we've been on a debt-fueled binge. We're living beyond our means. We've got to focus on value for money for public services, decreasing the deficit. We've got to focus on savings and an export-driven economy. That is the way to success. But she wasn't actually talking about New Zealand. It was a woman called Laura Tyson, who's a professor at UC Berkeley. And she was talking about the situation in the US. But word for word, it is the formula that we are applying here in New Zealand. Because anyone with any economic sense knows that what's happened over the past few years in Western economies, there's been a debt-fueled boom in consumption, there's been an explosion in the growth of government spending, and finally the day of reckoning has come. And it's come here in New Zealand, and we're doing something about it. And as has been said by my colleagues right through this debate, Portugal, Ireland, Greece and Spain, we are in that category. We are in the danger zone in terms of private debt as a proportion of GDP. And that's why we need this plan now. So we are focusing on value for money public services. We're making the structural changes to the economy. We're putting the focus on savings and growth and raising exports. And, you know, the Treasury says 3% growth anticipated this year. So the path ahead is clear. There is a plan. I've outlined our plan for the economy. You read the Prime Minister's speech, it's very clearly listed there. And these guys, they have to say what their plan is. David Cunliffe, speaking on behalf of the people of Newland via Herne Bay, he's saying, oh, don't worry, there will be a fully costed set of accounts before the next election. But so far, 3 weeks of Parliament, every time they open their mouths, more promises. $5 billion added to the total bill. $10 for everybody per week. That's going to cost $1.6 billion. Did you see Phil Goff on TV when the press gallery said, well, Mr Goff, where's the money going to come from? And frankly, Phil Goff did not know. When you see what they are promising in early childhood education, David Cunliffe, I tell you, he must be, well, there's an expression I could use, but he must be in mortal fear because he knows he's got to find the money for this stuff. And he knows at the end of the day, the only way he can do it is by driving up taxes. And the aspirational people in Birkenhead, Northcote, Beach Haven, Birkdale, they are not going to vote for higher taxes. They are not going to vote for more ETS costs. These guys know it. Their heads are down. They've got no reply to it. They know what's going to happen for them to pay for their promises. It's going to be higher taxes. It's going to be more people going to Australia. It's going to be bad news for New Zealand. So there we have it. The debate's been framed for the year. Read the Prime Minister's State of the Nation speech because it's very, very clear. There's a clear plan there about making the public service more efficient, about restructuring the economy, about export-led growth. And it's a plan that makes sense to people out there in the electorate. They get what we're doing. They've got confidence in John Key. These guys over here, they are a shambles. They're in disarray. We could go on about their shambolic, disorganised front bench, their disoriented leadership, their lack of options. But quite frankly, the contest has been framed. The people will make their mind up, and it's going to go very quickly. Kia ora, Mr Speaker.